Okay, so we are recording. So hi everyone and welcome to the second day of our TUSD Wellness Fair, Tasty Tuesday. I hope you all had a mindful Monday and we're very excited to have you as our guests today for the Tasty Tuesday workshop and presentation. My name is Kathleen Cole and I am a registered dietitian and the Director of Nutrition Services here at TUSD. And presenting with me today is our Assistant Director, Sarah Shamuka, who is a soon-to-be registered dietitian. And we also have a very special guest, Maria Fry, here from the Dairy Council, who is also a registered dietitian. So this is who will be presenting today. As you can see on the slide here, we do have a hashtag for this week's Wellness Fair, and it's Healthy Body, Healthy Mind. So next, I'm going to go into some housekeeping rules. Oops, sorry about that. A little delayed over here, so okay, let's try this again. Okay, so for housekeeping rules, please mute your microphones and please email any questions that you may have until after the presentation. As a reminder, the presentation will be recorded and will be made available online.
So today we featured a new menu item for Tasty Tuesday at all of our school sites. We featured a plant-based meat alternative by using meatless crumble. At our elementary school sites, we featured the meatless crumble in a nacho that was topped with shredded cheese and salsa. At our middle school and high school sites, we used the crumble for a walking taco. And generally, eating less red and processed meats and more plant-based foods can lower the risk of diseases such as heart disease, cancer, chronic kidney disease, and type 2 diabetes. Although ditching old eating habits can be difficult, we plan to introduce new menu items such as these in the near future in hopes of introducing students to a new variety of food options.
And the topics that we will be covering today are nutrition trends, healthy eating tips, the nutrition label, intuitive eating, goal setting, and exercise. So first, we are going to have Maria Fry join us from the Dairy Council to present on nutrition trends. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share. And then Maria, the floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Perfect. All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here with you all today. And yes, I will share my screen as well. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, I'm just having a couple, just a little tech issues. Let me go back with that.
No worries. If you want me to pull it up too on my end, I can.
Actually, Kathleen, can you do that? I'm so sorry. I'm having.
Oh yeah, no worries. Let me just pull it up really quick here.
I just want to know if I'm going to leave this meeting and webinar and lose 50 pounds. That's all I want.
Hi, Nettie. Yeah, we don't go too much over weight loss and all that stuff, but there are some good tips. Let's see. Let me pull it up. Is it the DCC April 22, Maria?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Let me just move this over here and then I will share my screen. And okay, can you see that okay?
It's perfect. Thank you guys. I'm so sorry about this.
Oh no, it's okay.
Okay. Well, and as Kathleen said, so I'm Maria. I'm with Dairy Council of California. And before joining Dairy Council, I actually used to work at Torrance Memorial Medical Center in the inpatient outpatient setting. And I used to help teach the Healthy Ever After curriculum, which I loved. And that actually inspired me to go more into the community and focus on nutrition education. So that's why I joined Dairy Council. So I'm grateful to be connected still to Torrance. I feel like you guys are such a close-knit, really special community. So today we're going to be talking about the top nutrition trends. And as you can see, if you kind of scroll down the slide, first if you're not familiar with Dairy Council, we are a not-for-profit nutrition education organization, and we've been around for over 100 years. Our staff includes dietitians and nutrition and communication experts who work directly with teachers, food service professionals, and dietitians like Kathleen and Sarah, and other wellness providers, community leaders to provide training, support, and nutrition education resources to teach the importance of nutrition and how to eat healthfully. So collectively, these efforts educate millions in California and throughout the US every year. And if you scroll down a little bit, so we have a trends team that meets 3 times a year, and they're made up of dietitians, health and communication experts. We analyze key reports from academic journals, trade publications, periodicals, and more. And we divide the key reports into categories, including food environment and access, nutrition education, consumer behavior, and dietary patterns. Through conversation and critical analysis of the data, we determine what is emerging as the most relevant and impactful to our audiences. And this presentation is based off of our spring 2022 trends that you can access on our website, healthyeating.org/trends, to read more about it. And so if you scroll a little bit more, perfect. So here are the top 5 nutrition trends. So the first trend, as you can see, focuses on nutrition security. So you probably have heard of food security, which basically means getting enough food, having enough calories. Well, nutrition security builds on food security. And it means that all people have access to high quality, nutrient-dense foods that meet their cultural preferences. And so if you go on to the next slide, one way where this is being addressed is at your school. So you might have heard of universal school meals, and universal school meals builds on the federal National School Lunch Program and school breakfast program. And it means that breakfast and lunch will be free for students next year, and Kathleen has a lot more information on this if you have questions for her. But this is great because school breakfast and lunch programs, they provide nutrient-rich foods and nutrition security for many children, especially in underserved communities. And then the next trend focuses on the dairy matrix. So what is a dairy matrix? It sounds like it could be part of the movie. So the dairy matrix is the physical structure of nutrients which facilitates their digestion, absorption, and bioavailability. So the dairy matrix essentially demonstrates how key nutrients in milk and dairy foods do not work in isolation. Rather, they interact with one another to provide health benefits beyond individual nutrients, playing an important role in supporting the overall health of both children and adults. So research on the dairy matrix supports dairy foods' unique ability to improve gut health and reduce inflammation as part of healthy eating patterns. Dairy foods, including milk, yogurt, and cheese, can differentially impact health outcomes like reduced risk of cancer and heart disease. And so the next slide shows how scientific evidence of how specific foods and combinations of food interact with the gut microbiome, and that continues to build. So the gut microbiome is a function of the bacteria that lives in the digestive system. So research on the importance of a healthy gut microbiome is growing, with increasing evidence of its role in supporting the health of other systems throughout the body. So an unhealthy gut is linked to increased susceptibility to acute and chronic lung diseases, and may play a role in susceptibility to and severity of infectious diseases like COVID-19. Diet plays a significant role in the establishment and maintenance of healthy gut microflora, and fermented dairy foods, particularly yogurt, can make an important contribution to overall health. Dairy foods also impact inflammatory markers, and while there's currently insufficient evidence to prove an anti-inflammatory effect of dairy foods, the substantial body of clinical research indicates that dairy foods do not increase chronic systemic inflammation. And then the third trend focuses on plant-based diets. And so consumers are showing an ongoing interest in plant-based products and diets, whether for one meal, 1 month, or as a long-term approach to eating. The promotion and adoption of plant-based diets is influenced by perceived health and environmental benefits, motivating organizations to educate on the intersection between food, agriculture, and planet. So where are we seeing this? We are seeing this at schools, governments, and organizations, healthcare environments, and even fast food chains, which are launching plant-based burgers made of peas, rice, and potatoes, as well as other alternative meat products like plant-based chorizo and fried chicken. So the next slide indicates that the rapid adoption of plant-based diets Also, it presents a need to assess knowledge gaps in health impact data through further research. The World Health Organization's European Office for Prevention and Control of Non-Communicable Diseases highlights that although the health benefits of a diet rich in plants is well noted, caution should be taken that not all plant-based diets are healthy. So it's common to associate plant-based diets with healthful, whole, and minimally processed plant foods like whole grains, fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds. However, sugar-sweetened beverages, refined grains, snacks, and confectionaries are foods that can still be considered plant-based. So plant and animal source foods should not be thought of as competing entities, but rather as synergistic food sources that provide different, though complementary, nutritional, social, economic, and environmental benefits. And then the next slide focuses on ultra-processed food. So in the past few decades, the consumption of ultra-processed foods has increased around the world and has been related to the occurrence of non-communicable diseases like obesity, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and all-cause mortality. So what are ultra-processed foods, or also known as highly processed foods? So they are hyper-palatable, a term used to describe the combination of sugar, fat, salt, and carbohydrates specifically designed to maximize tastiness. Not only are they designed to be hyper-palatable or extremely tasty, they are often inexpensive and convenient due to their long shelf life. The conversation around ultra-processed foods is now expanding beyond their effect on health outcomes to the environmental impact of production and consumption. The connection between human and planetary health is complex, and dietary frameworks and models are still being developed to characterize both the healthfulness of diets and the climate impact. And so, the next slide, thank you, Kathleen. So food guidance and labeling systems are changing to support consumer awareness and impact food choices. So for example, Food Compass is a nutrient profiling system intended to categorize the healthfulness of foods for front of package labeling, warning labels, taxation, and company ratings. Previous nutrient profiling systems have looked at individual nutrients and ingredients such as sugar, total fat, saturated fat, trans fat, and sodium content. Well, Food Compass expands to include vitamins, minerals, food ingredients, additives, processing, specific fats, fiber, protein, etc. Nutrient profiling systems will continue to influence front of package labeling in coming years with the intention of promoting healthier consumer purchasing decisions. Retailers are also joining the conversation on climate, as evidenced by Walmart's Built for Better initiative, which will tag goods that are considered better for health and less damaging to the environment. However, labeling tactics have the potential to oversimplify dietary decisions, confuse consumers, and create a health halo for some processed foods over others. The quality of food and a food's matrix, altered by processing and other factors, can fall on a spectrum of how the food impacts health. So for example, not all foods containing sugar are equal, and evidence shows that using sugar as an indicator of carbohydrates' impact on health is highly dependent on the food source. Some high-quality food sources that contain carbohydrates and sugar, like yogurt, flavored milk, fruit, 100% fruit juice, and certain breakfast cereals, are shown to be beneficial to health. These foods contain naturally occurring sugars, and although they may contain limited added sugars, they also provide essential nutrients. Conversely, calorie equivalent substitutions of low quality carbohydrate foods with sugar, like grain-based desserts, show evidence of harm. So the scientific insight indicates the potential benefits and drawbacks of using simplified labeling to distinguish the healthfulness of ultra-processed versus minimally processed foods and their impact on the environment. And then the last trend is the education environment. So as you all know, the pandemic has had a significant impact on students' social and emotional well-being, particularly those that faced extended school closures and remote learning. In addition to social learning loss, many students experienced academic losses, and reports show that remedial support is needed for both social and academic development. Mental health is a key priority for many school districts as they face a shortage of school psychologists and counselors, but increased demand for services and a need to provide equitable access to mental health supports. The disruption to the school environment over the last 2 years may change how schools operate in the future. California is also investing in creating specialized services to support communities through the California Community Schools Partnership Program. The program allocates $3 billion to convert several thousand schools in low-income neighborhoods into centers of community life and providers of vital services for families as well as students. In addition, the widespread adoption of education technology continues to gain momentum, with teachers looking for tools that are sustainable and will improve both teaching and learning. In California, lower enrollment and a declining birth rate mean that there will be 700,000 fewer students by 2031. These trends existed prior to the pandemic, but have been accelerated by the severity and duration of the pandemic. Enrollment is directly tied to state and localized funding in the educational environment, which will impact schools' ability to educate and in many cases, their ability to stay open. So the next slide kind of has a recap of the top 5 nutrition trends. And again, they are nutrition security and how it's being embedded in a systems approach, how a growing body of research on the dairy matrix supports dairy foods' unique ability to improve gut health and reduce inflammation, how plant-based diets and foods are being promoted and adopted at all levels, how ultra-processed foods are under increasing scrutiny due to adverse health outcomes and impact on the environment, and how the public education environment is changing rapidly due to challenges including an increased need for mental health support, staffing shortages, and declining enrollment and birth rates. So thank you so much for listening, and we would love your feedback if you have time. There's a QR code, and we just have like a short survey on that if you're able to do the survey. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Maria. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share here and switch back over. I really appreciate you joining us, and you're free to go too, because I know you have a busy schedule, so don't feel like you have to stay on.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Yes, no problem. And then let me go ahead and go back to sharing our screen. So nutrition trends, show. All right. And so the next thing that we're going to go over is healthy tips. So we want to go over some healthy tips to improve your overall wellness. And we'll start with the MyPlate guidelines.
So the MyPlate guideline emphasizes the importance of an overall healthy eating pattern, with all 5 key groups being the building blocks. The 5 building blocks of the MyPlate are fruit, vegetables, grains, protein, as well as dairy, which is not pictured, but yeah, as well as dairy. MyPlate suggests you make half of your plate fruit and vegetables while focusing on consuming whole fruits and a variety of veggies. The remainder of your plate should consist of grains, which you should aim for about half to be whole grain, and protein. When incorporating dairy, MyPlate suggests consuming low-fat or fat-free dairy products or lactose-free dairy or fortified soy versions. Remember when you're making your healthy plate to use a plate that's about 9 inches in diameter.
So first we're going to go into carbohydrates. You want to make sure that you are eating carbs. You need at least 90 grams of carbs a day to have normal brain function, and at least 120 grams of carbs a day for your organs to work correctly. If you eat too little of carbs, it can produce ketones, which is like acid in the blood, and can be very detrimental to your health. So please remember that carbs are very important for good health. In fact, they are your #1 energy source, and we want to choose the ones that give us sufficient energy throughout the day. And those kind of being whole grains, which include brown rice, whole wheat pasta, or whole grain bread. Complex carbs are also fruits, and they're also starchy vegetables. So beans, peas, corn, sweet potatoes, mashed potatoes, winter squash. And as an FYI, in our school kitchens, we actually offer 100% whole grain foods. So with that being said, we do not offer any white rice, white breads, or pasta, because we understand the longstanding benefits of complex fiber-rich carbohydrates. Oh, Sarah, you're on mute.
Sorry. Then moving on to proteins, the best sources of proteins are lean proteins, and just some examples of lean proteins that you can try are fish, poultry, so such as chicken and turkey, nuts, and beans.
Next, you are going to want to choose healthy fats, but portion sizes and what types of fat you choose is key for this one. So you want to limit your foods that contain saturated fats and trans fats. For example, red meat or high-fat dairy products, and instead choose plant oils such as avocado or olive oil. And nuts are also a great source of healthy fats, but keeping it to no more than a handful per serving. And then fish, especially salmon, is loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, which is great for your brain health and heart health. And the last thing I want to note about fats is in our school cafeterias, we have to ensure that our meals contain less than 10% of calories from saturated fats, and that there are 0.5 grams or less of trans fats with no exceptions. And in order to kind of guarantee this, we have our registered dietitians complete a weekly weighted analysis to ensure that we are always in compliance.
So like we mentioned earlier, focusing on eating a variety and choosing whole fruits and vegetables is really important. Tasting the rainbow the right way by filling your plate with a variety of colors is a great way to introduce new fruits and veggies to your diet. Each color vegetable provides positive benefits for your body, and a great place to try a variety of fruit and vegetables would be at the salad bar at school. So seasonal fruits and veggies are always available, but remember to only take what you're able to finish.
Now, this one is very important, and that's limiting your sugary beverages. So sugary beverages can cause insulin resistance, which makes it very hard for your organs to convert sugar into energy. Water is always best to quench your thirst, so be sure to skip the sugary drinks. Anything from juice, lemonade, Gatorade, soda, those should all be limited. And try not to drink your calories when you can. Sugar-free and diet also isn't great due to the artificial sweeteners. So not many people know this, but artificial sweeteners trick your brain to make you think that you're drinking something 16 times more sweet than just something with sugar itself. And if you're constantly having that, it's going to trigger dopamine, which is going to make you to crave and want and need more of this diet beverage, or also cravings for sugar. So it's always best to do water when you can if you're thirsty. And another good option is this water with just fresh fruits in it to give it some flavor.
So going back to just eating more whole fruits and vegetables, trying to choose less processed foods and replacing them with more whole and fresh foods is a really important tip as well. Eating fresher foods with less salt is great for everybody's health.
Portion control. So there are no foods that you cannot have. Again, there are no foods that you cannot have. It's just the amount and the frequency that you need to be very mindful of. So one thing that we live by is everything in moderation. So you want to make sure that portion control and balance is always taken into account, and to make sure that foods are in the correct portions, you want to measure your foods. You can do measuring cups, or really just using the plate method, which we'll go into a little bit. People tend to eat most of all the foods they serve on their plate. So you want to start by being extra mindful when you're building your plate. And we'll kind of get into that in the next slide or two.
So if you don't have access to a measuring cup, using your hand as a visual guide can be a neat trick that you can learn today. So the palm of your hand is about the standard serving of meat, which is about 3 to 4 ounces. And if you're looking to measure a cup, or like a 1 cup serving, clenching your fist, and that should be, clenching your fist is about the size of what 1 cup looks like. The front of your closed fist is about half a cup, and your thumb measures out to be 2 tablespoons, which is great for measuring like nut butters, like peanut butter, almond butter, and yeah.
So next we're going to go into the healthy My Plate examples. And as a reminder, your plate should be no bigger than 9 inches in diameter, as Sarah already mentioned. This will help give you some context as you're overviewing these slides. And the first thing that I want to point out to you is you should always make half of your plate fruits and vegetables, a quarter of your plate protein, and the other quarter of your plate whole grains. So as you can see here, we have our salmon, which is a protein and a healthy fat. We have our brown rice for our whole grain. We have our spinach with some pine nuts as our vegetable, as well as a salad with some fruit topped on top of the salad. For the dairy component, there is vanilla pudding here. So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone by hitting your dairy, but also getting a nice dessert in there.
So this is another great example of a really well-prepared plate that follows the My Plate guidelines. So as you can see, half of the plate is filled with fruits and vegetables, which is peaches and roasted bell peppers in this case. And the grain component is filled by that piece of toast, and the egg is a serving of protein.
All right, and so for this plate, we have shrimp as our protein, the couscous as our grain, the broccoli as our veggie with a healthy fat on top for that with avocado. And then the pears and frozen berries, this can be kind of a sweet or dessert option. But as you can see, this is offering a lot of different colors, which is means there's lots of antioxidants going on here.
Another great example of a well-balanced plate, this also has chicken, brown rice, as well as a variety of whole fruits and vegetables, which includes blueberries, strawberries, cherries, tomatoes, and even arugula.
And this last healthy plate I want to show is actually a plate that I bought for my nephews who are 4 and 8 years old. And I actually gifted to this to them, and they were very excited about it because it kind of helped them learn about what the food groups are and how to portion their foods correctly. And what's so great about this is, at such a young age, kids learn here their healthy eating habits. So if we can start young, it'll help them as they get older. And I did include a link here at the bottom if anyone's interested in purchasing this plate for their kids. It's just on Amazon. Oops, let me go back one, sorry. So next we are going to go into the nutrition label, and this is a link, an interactive nutrition label that I highly recommend at your own time clicking on and checking out. Sarah, if you're able to drop that link into the chat, that would be great. If not, I can add it a little bit later too, because I have it here. But this is, I'll go over the basics of the label, but I really like this one because it gives a breakdown of what the label is, why it's there, what composes the nutrients, and it also gives like just details of what are the fats and where they're sourced from. So definitely want everyone here to at some point check this out if they have not seen this already. But I do want to go over just the basics of the label. So if you're wondering why the label has changed in the last few years, you're right, it has. And the new label did come out January 2021. So it now shows the calories as being a much larger print, as you can see here. The serving size is based on the amount of food that is customarily eaten at one time and not a recommendation of how much to eat. The daily percent value shows how much a nutrient in a serving of food contributes to a total diet of approximately 2,000 calories. The daily percent value is not going to be a total of 100%. It just, again, it references amounts that would be healthy for a 2,000 calorie diet. And so you'll see it listed in grams, milligrams, or micrograms. And you definitely don't want to exceed the 100% value for each day. Another thing you'll see is the added sugars. So this wasn't on the label before, it was only total sugars, but the added sugars are added during the process of creating food. And so these are added sweeteners such as table sugar, syrups, honey, or sugars from concentrated fruits or vegetable juices. And diets high in calories from added sugars can make it difficult to meet daily recommended levels of important nutrients while staying within calorie limits. So you really want to kind of keep an eye out for those. The other is the vitamins listed here. So vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. They did switch these to be the 4 on the label because these are vitamins and minerals that promote growth, development, and normal body functioning. So that's another great addition there. And then the last thing I wanted to mention about the label, which isn't actually shown here, but it's the ingredients list. The product's ingredients are listed by quantity from highest to lowest. This means that the first ingredient is what the manufacturer used the most of. So a good rule of thumb when you're looking at the ingredient list is look at the first 3 ingredients, because that is what makes it the largest part of what you're eating.
So when we're at the grocery store and looking for healthy items, we might see some really like eye-catching terms, but be aware of these, of some of these like misleading claims that you can potentially see on food packages. So light means these products were processed to reduce the calories or fat. When buying light foods, check the label carefully to see if anything else has been added instead. Multi-grain. Although this may sound healthy, it only means that the product has more than one type of grain, and that added type of grain can be a refined grain. So looking for products that are marked as whole grain instead would be a better option. So natural, this does not necessarily mean that the product resembles anything natural. It simply indicates that at one point the manufacturer worked with a natural source like apples or rice. And lastly, organic, this label says very little about whether a product is healthy. For example, organic sugar is still sugar.
So here are more misleading claims on labels to watch out for. The first is no added sugar. Just because they don't have added sugar doesn't mean they don't already have a lot of sugar, or doesn't mean that they're healthier. They could also have unhealthy artificial sweeteners, which we talked about earlier, that also aren't good for our brain and mind. Low calorie products have to have 1/3 fewer calories than the brand's original product, yet one brand's lower calorie version may have similar calories as any other brand. So again, doesn't say much there for you. Low fat often means that fat has been reduced at the cost of more sugar added. So again, making sure you check that ingredient list so you're not being tricked. And then low carb diets have been linked to good and improved health. However, if it's on a package, it's still processed, and that means that it's definitely probably not a complex carb unless it's really been filled with lots of fibrous nutrients. So just some things to kind of look out for.
And then last page of the misleading claims, made of whole grains. So you should always make sure to check the label to see how much whole grain is actually incorporated in this product. If whole grains aren't in the first 3 ingredients, like Kathleen mentioned earlier, the amount could be really negligible. Fortified or enriched, this means that some nutrients have been added to the product. For example, vitamin D is often added to milk. Yet just because something is fortified doesn't mean it's healthy. Gluten-free doesn't mean healthy either. The product simply doesn't contain wheat, spelt, rye, or barley. Many gluten-free foods are highly processed and loaded with unhealthy fats and sugar. Fruit flavored, many processed foods have a name that refers to a natural flavor, such as strawberry yogurt. However, the product may not contain any fruit, or it's just chemicals designed to taste like fruit. Zero trans fat. This phrase means less than 0.5 grams of trans fat servings. Thus, if the serving size are misleadingly small, the products may still contain trans fat in it as well.
And then these are the bad ones you really want to watch out for. So we have trans fats, partially hydrogenated oils. You'll see this in a lot of peanut butter, so beware. High fructose corn syrup, artificial sweeteners such as aspartame, sucralose, saccharin, sodium benzoate, and potassium benzoate. A lot of people don't know about these two. So I hear that more than I would have imagined. And they are preservatives. So we see that in a lot of candies and foods that are packaged. So just make sure you keep an extra eye out for those. Nitrites and nitrates, those are found in meats. So you want to be very cautious when you select your meats, make sure they're good quality. And then MSG is another popular one, enhances the flavor of food, but can lead to harmful brain function, such as headaches.
So moving on to intuitive eating. So you might find yourself asking what intuitive eating is, and you may already be following this practice without actually knowing that it's intuitive eating. And this is about trusting your body to make food choices that feel good for you, honoring your hunger cues, discovering when you feel satisfied and content, as well as feeling your fullness are key components of practicing intuitive eating.
So what are the first 3 letters of the word diet? As you can tell, it is die, and that is because 90 to 95% of diets have a failure rate. That's their failure rate, 90 to 95%. It leads to deprivation, cravings, food obsessions, rebellion, rebound weight gain. It slows your metabolism. And something that I always like to compare your metabolism to is fire. So without adding wood to the fire, your fire goes out. So the best way to burn a fire is continually giving it fuel. So you ideally want to eat 2 to 4 hours, every 2 to 4 hours, keep your fire, AKA your metabolism, going strong. Short-term solution, about 41% gain back more at 1 year than they lost. So diets are not the way to go. It's a big failed stamp here.
So on the left column are characteristics of a dieter's mentality, while the right side are those of an intuitive eater. So just to go over a few of them, some people with the diet mentality might think rigid, deprived, guilt, fear, shame, judgment, oppressed, while an intuitive eater might consider flexible, satisfied, pleasure, trust, empowered, compassion, acceptance, and freedom.
So why intuitive eating? Well, it gives you a sense of empowerment. It will allow your body to trust its signals, and it won't allow your body to go through a roller coaster ride. It will give you a balanced lifestyle. It would allow you to get in touch with your body, your thoughts, and your feelings. And lastly, it'll give you the freedom from dieting.
So next time you get a chance to watch a baby or toddler eat, notice their intuitive eating skills. They're always eating when they're hungry and they usually stop when they're full. They've not experienced many external cues, therefore they're the best intuitive eaters out there. We all possess the ability to intuitively eat, but outside forces such as the time of day, social engagement, food commercials, and food rules can disrupt our ability to practice this.
So to be able to ultimately return to your inborn intuitive eater, a number of things need to be in place. And most importantly, the ability to trust yourself. So we are going to go over 10 principles of intuitive eating. And the overall goal is to gain a healthy relationship with food and your body.
So number one is rejecting the diet mentality. So you want to give up dieting for good and get rid of or don't bother with books and articles about dieting. If you allow even one small hope to linger that a new and better diet might just be around the corner, it will prevent you from being free to discovering intuitive eating. Don't allow yourself outside of professionals to tell you what and when or how to eat.
Number two is honor your hunger. So don't ignore your natural hunger signs. Honor them by eating. Begin to listen for any noise or a feeling of hunger, such as growling or a headache or lack of focus or energy. And then be prepared with food as soon as you recognize a biological hunger. Something I do here at my desk is I always have foods that are readily available that are healthy snacks. So I don't find myself going into these cravings or ravenous binges where I'm starving because I waited too long. So I think it's really important to recognize those cues and then also have food readily available when you recognize them.
Number three, so make peace with food. Give yourself unconditional permission to eat whatever you really like, no guilt and no deprivation. So like Kathleen had mentioned, preparing and having some small healthy snacks for you so you don't go into this ravenous state of hunger would be a really great way to make peace with food. Observe how your body feels when eating food and make mental notes. Keep ample supplies of all foods you might like to eat near you.
And then challenge the food police. Identify your distorted food, dieting, and eating thoughts and throw them out. Listen for destructive voices, negative self-talk, the food police, the nutrition informant, the diet rebel. Develop healthy voices, positive self-talk. There's no good foods and there's no bad foods. There's really are no rules. So again, like I mentioned earlier, all foods fit. Portion control, as long as if it's in moderation, then it'll fit.
Number five, feel your fullness. Listen for your body signals and pause often in the middle of the meal and snack to see how your food tastes and check in with your current fullness levels. Discard the idea that you have to finish everything and make sure you still have plenty of food available as well.
Discover the satisfaction factor. Ask yourself, what are you really wanting to eat? Eat when you're gently hungry rather than when you're overly hungry. Make sure you're savoring your food, eat in a pleasant environment, and check in and stop when you are satisfied. This is really important as well because it actually takes 20 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain that you're full. So you really want to make sure that you're giving your body the time to recognize that you've eaten and then before you dip into seconds. So just keep that in mind whenever you're eating your plate. You might feel like, oh, I'm still hungry, but give yourself the 20 minutes if you can by just doing something distracting, whether it's reading a book, going for a walk. And then in 20 minutes, if you're still hungry, I recommend going in for a second portion.
So number seven, cope with your emotion without using food. During this, you have to ask yourself, am I biologically hungry? And if yes, honor your hunger and eat. If no, ask yourself, what am I feeling and what do I need to do? Food will not satisfy needs other than hunger.
So respect your body, accept your body type and your genetics, respect body diversity, including yours. Make sure you wear comfortable clothes, nothing too tight or too loose. Again, what's comfortable. And then don't weigh yourself excessively. So what's normal? Weighing yourself once a week is considered the normal, but it should always be the same time of the week at the same time of the day. So Monday morning at 8 a.m., for example. Also, if you're weighing yourself after you've been working out more, please remember that muscle does weigh more than fat.
So exercise, feel the difference. Focus on how exercise makes you feel and that it means you're taking care of yourself. Break through exercise barriers, disassociate exercise from weight loss, get active in daily living, and make exercise fun. And remember the importance of rest. And we'll be going through a few we'll be going over how much you should be exercising every day in a few slides.
And then number 10, honor your health. Make food choices that honor your health and taste buds while making you feel good. There are no forbidden foods. Deprivation does not work. Moderation and balance are key. And remember that you do not need to eat a perfect diet to be healthy. It is progress, not perfection.
So 4 steps before eating. So do any of you say or yum when you're eating your favorite food? If so, you're practicing enjoying your food and you are becoming more mindful. It's a great idea to enjoy our food because it makes us happy and it helps us eat the amount of food that our body needs. Take a look at it before you eat. Notice the shapes, colors, sizes. Be grateful and be glad you get to have the food to help your body grow and have energy. Slow down a little when you eat. This way you can taste your food. Turn off the TV or other screens when you eat. Focus on the meals and the others around you. That way you can really taste the food. I personally turn off any noise such as music or TV and even put away my phone to the side. So take the 4 steps before eating. Stop, breathe, reflect, and choose.
Again, make sure you are enjoying your food. And let me just include some key phrases here to consider while you're eating.
So to measure success, consider avoiding the scale and looking for other benefits such as having a better mood, more energy, less stress, and tension. Remember that change is a matter of progress, not perfection. Change is always easier when you're self-accepting and feel good about yourself.
All right, the next section we're going to go over is setting SMART goals for yourself, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. You must be realistic with yourself before setting these goals. So for example, if I'm someone that is walking 2,000 steps a day, my goal should not be to walk 10,000 steps a day. Starting off with 3,000 to 4,000 would be more appropriate.
So when creating these goals, remember to be realistic, adventurous, flexible, and sensible. To be realistic, take small steps and rather than giant leaps. Be adventurous by expanding your taste to enjoy a variety of foods. Be flexible and incorporate balance into what you eat and the activity you partake in. And lastly, be sensible by listening to your body's signals.
This is a nutrition goal tracker, and you can utilize this kind of tool to track your goals. Sometimes people have to visually see it to schedule it to then do it. So if I was someone that never ate fibrous foods such as broccoli, then maybe adding it twice a week could be a good start. Planning ahead is a useful trick in eating healthy and working towards your goals, and a tool chart like this could really help.
So when things get tough, remember to focus on things within your control and go back to the SMART goals that you created. Remind yourself to be realistic, flexible, and sensible with yourself.
Having a shopping list will also keep you on track. And one thing that I love to do is keep something like this on the fridge or in my notes on my phone. And one cool thing about the iPhone is you can share it with other members so no one is left out when you do go grocery shopping.
So as Kathleen mentioned earlier, some people might need a little bit of a visual reminder to go grocery shopping or remind themselves of the budget that they might have. So a food expense tracker may be a great tool for those of us who lose sight of what we're supposed to be there for and purchasing foods without being mindful of our budget. So creating a tracker for yourself to keep yourself responsible and see how much you're spending would be a great tip.
Creating a meal plan like this for yourself can also be useful. Planning ahead, again, is crucial to healthy eating. It can keep those urges to go to fast food restaurants at bay. I actually do have a whiteboard on my fridge at home that I fill out that looks just like this. That way everyone in the family knows what we're eating for the rest of the week.
So using something like this can also help you plan ahead and think ahead on recipe ideas for that day as well. Writing out and planning what to eat and Writing out and planning what to eat or make for the day might help you ensure you have enough ingredients available by using something like this as well. And these are just some examples. Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. These are just some examples of recipes that you can try. So I see we have a variety of avocado toast, as well as a salad down there as well.
All right, next we're going to go into exercise.
Oh, sorry, that's me. For children ages 3 to 5, it's recommended to be physically active throughout the day. And for kids 6 to 17, 60 minutes of moderate or vigorous exercise at least 3 days per week is recommended. Introducing muscle and bone strengthening exercises while increasing the amount and intensity over time is recommended as well.
And then for the recommendations for adults, we want to get at least 150 minutes of exercise per week of moderate intensity aerobic activity, or 75 minutes per week of vigorous aerobic activity, or a combination of both, preferably spread out throughout the day. Adding moderate to high intensity muscle strengthening activities is also extremely beneficial for your bone health, and you want to do that at least twice a week. Try to do your best to spend less time sitting. Even a light intensity activity such as walking can help offset some of the risk of being sedentary. Gain even more benefits by being active at least 300 minutes, which is 500 or 5 hours per week, and then just slowly increase the amount and intensity over time. Again, you want to set SMART goals for yourself with exercise as well.
And some examples of moderate intensity aerobic activities you can partake in are brisk walking at least 2.5 miles per hour, water aerobics, dancing, ballroom or social, gardening, tennis, biking slower than 10 miles per hour.
And then here's some examples of vigorous intensity aerobic activities. And these ones will really get your heart rate up. So hiking up a hill, or running, swimming laps, dancing, heavy yard work and lifting and digging, tennis for singles, cycling at 10 miles per hour or faster, and then also jump rope.
And why should we exercise? Exercising can help lower risk of chronic health conditions, reduce weight gain, and risk of obesity as well. It can also help with bone health balance, have better sleep, improve cognition, and overall provide a better quality of life and sense of well-being.
And then your wellness journey, just remember, life involves being off the course, but being off the course doesn't matter as long as we're making the necessary corrections. So making mistakes, taking wrong turns, and backing up and reevaluating are all parts of the journey to optimal health. As long as we're moving in the general direction of an improved health, we are on track.
And lastly, this is just a quote we wanted to share with you guys that we feel ties well into our presentation. So watch your thoughts for they become words. Watch your words for they become actions. Watch your actions for they become habits. Watch your habits for they become character. Watch your character for it becomes your destiny.
And if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. My email and Sarah's email is listed there as well, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have. And then we have our resource page. And then the last is just a thank you so much for your time. We hope that you have a great rest of your wellness week and a very happy Wellness Wednesday coming up. So thank you for your time, and have a great week.